Aloha, folks, and welcome to this edition of Five Questions, appearing here on HawaiiReporter.com, also here on KHVHradio.com, and on the Rick Hamada program on News Radio 830 KHVH. He's a gentleman that is fully immersed in the conversation, debate, and discussion regarding taxation for our nation at large. He's Grover Norquist, Americans for Tax Reform out of Washington, D.C. Grover, first of all, it's a pleasure to chat with you, and warmest of aloha to you, sir.
Rick, good to be with you.
Grover, we do this five questions, specifically addressing areas of your expertise. I'd like to start with question number one. Through your eyes, Grover, can you give us your assessment of the financial viability of the United States at this point?
Well, we're in trouble. The Obama administration and the last 2 years of Democratic Congresses have increased spending about $1 trillion each year. Deficits have gone up by over $1 trillion per year, and we are digging ourselves deeper and deeper in debt. The good news is that we're a strong economy on the bottom of it, and all we have to do is stop hitting ourselves on the head with a hammer, and we can recover quickly. The challenge is Obama keeps adding to spending, adding to entitlements, nationalizing health care, trying to tax energy, trying to tax people who work on Saturdays. All of those threats to the economy have made this a very, very miserable job-killing economy nationally.
Just a sidebar on this is that the claims that we are still in a recovery mode. Can you explain the veracity of that comment?
Well, we have generally above zero economic growth. However, if you compare what's on now to the recovery when Ronald Reagan was president after, as he began to turn the economy around, Ronald Reagan economy was creating 400,000 jobs a month for a year, the year before the 2004 election. We are having slow job creation, and more people are entering the job force than going to work. So actually, unemployment is popped up again. This is not good. This is heading in the wrong direction. If you want to call this a recovery, it is an anemic, weak recovery compared to all recent recovery going back 30 years.
We're talking with Grover Norquist, of course, Americans for Tax Reform. Grover, could you help us understand through our second question, help us understand the debt ceiling? This is in the news quite a bit. What does it all mean?
Well, the federal government has a law that says they can only borrow so much money, and that is therefore a ceiling on how much debt the feds can float. Obama has spent so much money so rapidly that the government is hitting this debt ceiling ahead of what otherwise might have been scheduled. Mm-hmm. And the reason why this is important is that Obama has governed as a very partisan left-wing Democrat. He hasn't talked to Republicans. He's sort of been insulting and snotty to them. And so he hasn't sat down for any sort of effort at reforming his approach. The debt ceiling requires the increase it is Obama wishes to by about $2 trillion, requires the House of Representatives to vote yes. And the House of Representatives, the Republican leader there, Mr. Boehner, has made it clear he'll consider voting yes, but there's and that is $2 trillion in spending restraint. So the only reason that Obama talks to Republicans, the only reason he's willing to consider spending reductions, because all he's done since he was president is dramatically increase spending, is because of this debt ceiling that he has forced us to hit. So the debt ceiling is important for a number of reasons. Most importantly, it's the only thing that forces Obama to come back to reality and focus on the damage that his spending is doing to the economy and killing jobs in the United States.
Grover, a sidebar issue, but it is still relevant, and that has to do with education. The Department of Education is pushing the gainful employment rule. And can you tell us what this rule is and what the net effect is going to be on education at large?
Well, there's been an effort by the Obama administration to destroy many parts of the private sector. They didn't like banks making loans for students to go to school, so they nationalized that, the sort of way East German or Polish governments would nationalize the steel industry. Mm-hmm. And now they're trying to do the same thing to for-profit schools that train people on how to be computer engineers and a number of other things. They want to force everybody into the present unionized, college structures that they're used to. And so they're coming up with some new rules to treat for-profit schools differently than not-for-profit or government-run schools. And it's designed to basically destroy the private sector in education.
We are talking with Grover Norquist, of course, and we appreciate Grover's time this morning. I do want to jump over to what many cite as the causation for what ails us economically, at least one of the main reasons, of course, mortgages and the entire meltdown of that industry. Through your eyes, Grover, where are we today? And more importantly, what is the role of the federal government now in the lives of private homeowners in regard to mortgages?
Well, I think that we ought to take Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which caused a great deal of this problem, that are quasi-independent entities, except they're run by government bureaucrat appointees, and the government, agreed to bail them out. We had to take those and privatize it. We had to get the government out of the business of subsidizing housing, because it was those subsidies that gave us, it's good when housing prices go up with economic growth and more demand. It's not good when housing prices go up because of a bubble, because people think they have a bubble that doesn't really exist. It distorts the market, and it led to a terrible, terrible crash because people used phony housing, inaccurate housing prices as leverage to borrow money or as an investment. And then all of a sudden people decided to discover this isn't real. So we need to get the government out of the business of distorting this market, and that means privatizing, selling off, breaking into teeny pieces.
It is 5 questions with Grover Norquist. Americans for Tax Reform. We are deeply appreciative of the responses from Grover on some key issues. I want to change over, Grover, to question number 4, and that would be your knowledge of and understanding of the state of Hawaii. From your standpoint and ATR, what do you make of Hawaii and where we are today?
Well, one of the challenges Hawaii has is that other states are reforming their labor laws. Other states are reforming how they organize the public sector unions, giving more school choice, having more competition. And for all those reasons, Hawaii is lagging. Now, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, New Jersey wasn't doing anything. Wisconsin wasn't improving. Texas was in good shape, but it wasn't getting better. Now many states are reforming and moving forward, and so Hawaii's lack of reform shows up more starkly in contrast.
The future for Hawaii, have you had a chance to contemplate? And if we are to change our direction, what is the necessary ingredient for that change?
Lower tax rates and more flexibility in work rules for government unionized workers, more parental choice in education, all of those things that other states are taking steps in that direction. Take a look at what Wisconsin and Massachusetts, crying out loud, are doing. They've decided in New York, no tax increase, period, this year, with a new liberal Democratic Governor Cuomo. That's pretty impressive.
Absolutely. Final question for us today on 5 questions. Grover, if you could please, describe to us the ideal tax scenario for the general public.
Very low tax rates. At a start, we got to move from the 35% corporate and individual rate to 25%, and then take it down as rapidly as we can. I mean, I don't think anybody should be paying more than a quarter of their income to the government, and frankly, it should probably be closer towards 10% over time.
Would that is there a particular form of tax that you support?
Single rate that taxes income one time. Could either be a personal income tax or it could be a retail sales tax. But economically, it's the same thing. If you take 10% of my income when I earn it, or 10% when exempting savings, or 10% when I buy something, they both are taxes on consumed income, and you want a single rate, you want to tax only consumed income.
I cannot thank you enough, Grover. Can you remind us of how folks can find you at Americans for Tax Reform?
Oh, sure. We're at Americans for Tax Reform. That's atr.org on our website. We send out a weekly notice about what's happening in the world of tax and spend, so we'd love to have people sign up to that email and love to.
Well, listen, Grover, it has been a delight as always. I hope we can do it again very soon. We wish you all the best on all your efforts, and again, warmest of aloha from those of us here in Hawaii. Thanks so much.
Aloha. Take care, Rick.
Bye now.